Warning, today's episode of Horror You Probably Slept On includes a couple mentions of self-harm as well as a couple of mentions of suicide. Viewer discretion is advised. If you can't handle those things, please click on something else. Hey, welcome back to Anti-King. Did you know that everything is meaningless?
It don't matter. None of this matters.
Well, boy, do I have just the movie for you. The Dark and the Wicked is a bleak, depressing, and unsettling film, and its melancholy is truly matched only by the jolts that scarier moments provide. The Dark and the Wicked premiered at the Fantasia International in 2020 and was released more widely later that same year by RLJE Films. It follows siblings Luis and Michael as they return to their family farm in Texas as their father's illness worsens. The film uses the uncertainty surrounding a loved one's impending death to inform some truly palpable tension throughout. The movie begins with silent establishing shots of the farm, coupled with shots of the family's matriarch scribbling furiously next to her incapacitated husband's bed before we're interrupted by a subtle shift in the air. And we're soon introduced to Luis pulling up to the property. I pull up. Luis, or rather the actor portraying her, Maren Ireland, was a pleasant surprise throughout. Her portrayal is even-keeled but wrought with panic. Her experience feels genuine, her past feels lived in and real. She's a terrifically written and cast character who at times puts the whole movie on her back. A tense dinner sets the tone and introduces us to Luis' brother Michael. We move through a handful of tense interactions between the family, including the mother expressing a desire for them to leave. It's not until that night that we're greeted with our inciting incident, which, early spoiler, includes the mother chopping off her own fingers before hanging herself in the barn. This shot was set up masterfully, as the sound design cue signals that subtle shift has returned, and the camera pulls tight on her face as we're treated to quick cuts of her chopping carrots that get fewer and farther between until eventually, you don't even want it to cut back to the carrots. You know it's not carrots anymore, it's fingies. The following morning, Luis and Michael find the bloody mess in the kitchen and eventually find her body. It is absolutely gut-wrenching, as Luis clings sobbing to her mother's lifeless body, before Michael eventually shows up to help pull her down. The next day, the characters are grief-stricken, stunned, and again, I can't praise the actors enough for how confidently they play the quiet parts of these roles. The nurse tells a story about their late mother and how she would sit next to her husband and whisper, but not to him, seemingly to no one in words she couldn't understand. And I understand the tone of this movie, but is this appropriate? She died yesterday, my guy. Michael suggests moving their father to a hospital to live out his final days, but Luis instead agrees to stay with him overnight as he wanted to die in his home. The score for this movie is exceptional and underscores the melancholy associated with their grief perfectly. I'm probably going to say the word melancholy a few more times. This movie's sad. There's an impassioned look at codependency here and the concept of shared grief, as well as an exploration of survivor's guilt. And I think it really sets this movie apart from the average haunted house flick. These people just lost their mother in a gruesome and traumatic way, and in their search for answers, they often blame each other or themselves. The portrayal and the writing behind it just feels like it comes from such a sincere place. This doesn't feel like gloom tourism. It feels lived in and genuine, and it blew my mind a movie with these resources could do so effectively. Luis starts to crack, starting with the hallucination of her dad while she's in the shower, or was it? Hammering home that theme of codependence, her brother is there to pick her up, however reluctant he feigns to be. These characters have a lot of depth, and it's shown in moments like this scene on the porch. While Michael pretends to be reluctant to help, he never actually is. He's always there when Luis really needs him to be. He likes filling that role in her life, otherwise he would have left already. That same porch chat also gives us one of the movie's most bone-chilling moments, when Michael reveals some of what his mother was frantically scribbling at the beginning of the movie.
I know he's there in the darkness. Help me, please. He's killing David. He can't breathe anymore. There's nothing I can do to stop it.
This journal is filled with creepy goodies that helped lend to the paranoid atmosphere the filmmakers were aiming to create. The movie begins to venture into more traditional haunted house type scares, but I'm not exactly complaining. These are done super effectively, and the way the score complements their mother's ghost hallucination things, seemingly effortless movements, and ominous floating, is as well. The lights turning off, people appearing in the shadows, all of those tropes are here, but with fresh takes on each. These jolts are never played too heavy-handedly, and the dull cinematography and bleak story make it feel more earned than, say, a Conjuring film. This movie is unsettling without those jump scares, which ironically actually makes them even more effective. Luis and Michael welcome in a priest who had been in contact with their mother in the weeks leading up to her death. He's an expert at spouting creepy things and guilt-tripping Michael. He's played expertly by Xander Berkeley, and reminds me a lot of the Harbinger trope haunted house movies had circa 70s and 80s.
He's not out there.
The scene where he's possessed and trying to coax them out of the house is chilling and helps kick off the chaos that follows, which includes a gurgling, possessed woman cutting herself and culminating with Charlie putting a shotgun in his mouth. These darker moments are what really help this movie stand out. Michael and Louise consult a doctor to see if they're able to move their father in order to keep him safe because the house is fucking haunted. The doctor explains that would kill him, and he won't allow them to do that. Out of options, they resign to their fate and settle in just in time for the nurse to scare the hell out of them again. Seriously, lady, this isn't your job. While Louise is looking for Michael, who's disappeared, Charlie's granddaughter shows up and informs Louise that Charlie committed suicide. It becomes fairly apparent this is another demonic hallucination, because for whatever reason, they always refuse to come inside, instead always trying to coax Louise out. But man, this little girl nails this tone shift.
He's close now. He's rotting.
This scene establishes that the demon, in its final form, and the movie's final act, are soon to be upon us. Michael is still missing and the nurse arrives seemingly unannounced. Louise finally gets through to Michael, who reveals he can no longer stand to stay there. He's abandoned her. You can see the last remnant of her calm shatter, and a familiar, subtle shift washes over the nurse's face in the other room. Michael warns her to follow his lead and leave before it's too late, just as the nurse begins shrieking from the other room. Louise runs in to check on her as she begins violently stabbing herself. Michael returns home to an empty house, a house that looks like it was left in a hurry. He calls his wife's phone and hears it vibrating in the other room, where he finds his wife and children at the kitchen table with their throats slit. God damn, this movie's dark. Overcome with grief, Michael pulls out his pocket knife and ends his life the same way his family did. And as he's bleeding out, he takes one last look at the kitchen to see it was all a hallucination, and he was now bleeding out in his kitchen as his family arrives home. This movie isn't just bleak, it's cruel. And man, if that cruelty isn't effective. Louise finally comes to and stumbles out of the house. She hears the gurgling, coughing moans of her father from inside and comes back to comfort him. Just then, she hears Michael calling out to her as the demon enters her father. We hear Louise cry out in pain as the credits roll. Alright, let's get to the rating part. Quick reminder, the horror films are ranked based on tension, kills, plot, acting, sound design / score, and direction. The tension was absolutely palpable, complemented greatly by the score and the actors' performances. There were definitely some moments that missed here too though, so I'll give it a 7. These kills are certainly disturbing and graphic for a haunting movie, and I think Michael's final moments might stick with me forever. While the plot is unsettling, it is at times propped up by some horror tropes, which led me to dock it a few points. Overall though, the writing here is superb. These cruel twists of fate highlighted by Michael's death are creative and devastating. This, along with the writing, is probably this film's strength. You can't pull this type of movie off without effective performances from the cast, and every single actor brings it in this one. The sound design here punches home all the jolts at all the right moments and helps create a sense of unease throughout. I think it fits the bleak imagery throughout like a glove, but I won't give it a perfect 10 just because nothing about it is particularly bold or original. It kind of goes off the same template a lot of haunting movies do, but it was executed very well. The shot selection here leaves a lot to be desired in some instances, and in others is reminiscent of Ari Aster and some of the more well-respected contemporary horror creators. But it is really inconsistent in that way. But it does move through its beats well enough. The actors seem properly motivated, and there are no egregious mistakes or anything, so I'd call it sufficient. Alright, so 49 out of 60 equals roughly 82%, which is surprising. I did not expect this one to rank higher than Random Acts of Violence, but here we are. The Dark and the Wicked is bleak, depressing, bloody, and cruel. It's unsettling and worth cutting out all the lights and giving a watch one night. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching again. If you haven't, please remember to like and subscribe. Maybe comment a movie you'd like to see covered. This Friday, we'll be doing the underappreciated career of Matthew Lillard, which I know a lot of you have been looking forward to. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to doing more of these. And until next time, be safe and remember,
He's rotting.
It don't matter. None of this matters.